Hey guys, welcome back to the business of art. Today I'm going to go over teaching an acrylic pour art class. I've gotten quite a few people asking questions about how one would go about teaching an acrylic pour art class because it's a little different, all right? So I'm going to just quickly walk through, first let's go over the 3 most asked questions, and then I'll quickly walk through all the materials and how I run the class basically. So the top 3 questions are: 1, do I teach the students how to mix the paint and have them mix their own paint, or do I do it for them? 2, how do the students take them home, or if they don't? 3, do I varnish it for them? All right, so I'd say those are probably the top 3 questions, along with, of course, pricing, which that's a whole different subject, and that's covered in my teaching art classes and how to price them. That's covered in that video, so check that one out if you haven't yet. So let's go over the first question of, should you teach them how to mix their paint? I say absolutely yes. First of all, that adds a lot of substance to the class. If you're just teaching them acrylic pouring, really realistically the class would be like 15 minutes long. There's not a lot to the techniques. The most important thing about acrylic pouring is the mixing of the paint. So I start off with explaining the materials to the students and then showing them how to mix the paint, and I will actually show them, I'll tell them my formula and everything, and then I will teach them a couple techniques. I usually stick with the tree ring and the flip cup because those are 2 of my favorites, and they're easy and they're really fun, and the person could do 2 or whatever. You can add in some other simple techniques. I wouldn't go too complex. And then I generally just let them have at it after that. If you want to, there's a couple ways too on having them mix the paints. If it's a smaller class, I would have each student maybe mix a couple colors and then they all share. That way you're not going through an enormous amount of cups and stir sticks and whatnot when it's not needed. If you have a larger class, you may want to let them pick out 4 or 5 colors and then mix it. So there's a couple ways to do that as well, depending on how many materials you want to use, really. Okay, and then in terms of having them bring them home or not, I say, if at all humanly possible, have them do it in a place that they can leave them, and that they can leave them flat and they can be not bothered for a couple days. So whether that be your house, their house, whatever, like have it in a place that they can leave it. If they absolutely want to take it home, or that's absolutely not possible, I'll show you in just a second when I go over the materials how I've done it in the past where they could take it home. It's still not guaranteed, and you have to let them know that it is at their own risk. Okay. And then lastly, do you varnish it for them? If they're being done at my studio, then yes, I would varnish it for them. If they're taking them home, or maybe you're going somewhere and teaching a class and then leaving, I would give them all of the varnishing or sealing instructions, whatever that may be. I personally use the Rust-Oleum Crystal Clear enamel spray. So sometimes sometimes maybe I'll even bring a can of it and leave it. If you want, you can do that. Or I'll just tell them what to use and when to use it, and that's fine for that. So those are kind of the basics, and I'm going to just go over materials real quick because I want to make sure you're thinking with every single thing that you might need, and I definitely advise you to have a checklist so you don't miss anything, and I advise you to keep it as simple as possible. Let's go over the materials real quick. Okay, so first off, I have these cake pans. These are 13.5 inches by 9.84 inches. I get these at the local dollar store, and they generally come in 2 in a pack or possibly 3 in a pack. I do this for a couple reasons. 1, it makes it really easy to contain the mess. Obviously a tablecloth works and you want to have a tablecloth, but this will really contain it. Plus, the students can easily move the paintings. And then lastly, if they absolutely need to take it home, this would be what they take it home in. They would just set it down on the floor of their car, as flat as possible, drive carefully, and pray. And then I have them do 8 by 10 canvases, and I like these because they easily fit into here. They're inexpensive. I wouldn't go much bigger than this, but you could if you want to. And then what I do is I take push pins, and I have them put one in each corner here, and that raises it a little bit so that it's not sitting flat on the ground there. So that's the basic setup. So you would need 2 canvases per student plus 2 of these pans per student. So think with that math if you're doing a class where you let them do 2 canvases. I would recommend it because as acrylic pour artists, we know you never want to do just one. Plus they may want to try different techniques. All right, then obviously you need stir sticks and the cups. And once again, thinking with how you're having them mix the paint. If you have each student mix 4 colors and you have 20 students, well, do the math. And then same thing with gloves. I would go with at least 4 gloves per student. So if you have 20 students, this is a box of 100, so that would be more than enough. And then there are other tools you can have, such as like an offset spatula, a swipe tool, a torch, the tape to tape off the back if you want, straws. I personally don't bring any of this because that adds in just a whole nother mess of things. But if you did want to, you don't need, of these things, you don't need like 1 per student, but maybe 1 for every like 5 students or so. And then especially if you're using torches, definitely train them, and educate them on how to use the torch, how to be safe with it, and then how to keep it clean as well so they don't get it super gunked up. And then a couple other things that you probably would want are, 1, a Sharpie. I would have everybody write their name on the back of their paintings, because if you're having 20 students, they each do 2 paintings, it's going to be guaranteed pretty much that someone's going to forget which painting they did when they come back to pick them up, and you're not going to know either. So, and then lots and lots and lots of napkins. Tons of paper towels everywhere because it is super messy. But this can contain it. One other cool thing about this too is that the runoff paint, they could actually use on their next painting if they wanted to. Or you can put it all in a cup for use later. So that's another good thing about these pans. I've used it a lot with the kids doing different paintings and stuff like that, and it really saves a lot of paint. And it's also just easy just to move them back and forth and whatnot and contain the mess. All right, I think that's about it for the materials. Okay guys, I think we covered everything regarding teaching an acrylic pour class. Once again, definitely make a checklist so you don't forget anything. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments, and I will see you next time.